Israel's Benjamin Netanyahu is unwavering in his message to the U.S. Rafah is the key to victory in the war against Hamas.
On Israel's northern border, the fight against Hezbollah in Lebanon is heating up. Chris Mitchell reports from Jerusalem.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu pushed back on the Biden administration's red lines on Rafah. Netanyahu told President Biden Israel has to invade to destroy the last remaining Hamas battalions and leadership.
We see no way to eliminate Hamas militarily without destroying these remaining battalions. We're determined to do it.
U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin is repeating what the Biden administration often asserts.
We acknowledge from the very beginning that Israel has a fundamental right to be able to defend itself, but we also recognize the importance of ensuring that people remain safe in Gaza.
Netanyahu says the Biden administration ignores that Israel has every intention of watching out for Gaza's civilians.
We, of course, share in this desire to allow an orderly exit of the population and provide aid to the civilian population. We've been doing this since the beginning of the war.
Cabinet ministers Ron Dermer and Zaki Hanegbi are heading to Washington to discuss its military operation and strategy to protect Gazans in Rafah. The State Department says the people of Rafah are desperate.
We need to redouble our efforts to ensure that aid can get to the places that it needs to go.
But Israel asserts the UN and other agencies are not getting the food where it needs to go. These videos, reportedly from a market in Rafah, show some international aid supplies up for sale. Many suspect Hamas is stealing the supplies and profiting from their sale. The IDF announced the killing of dozens of Hamas terrorists at the Al-Shifa hospital, with dozens more who have surrendered. IDF chief spokesman Daniel Hagari said Hamas used the hospital as a base of terror operations.
The Hamas terrorist organization continues to systematically operate from hospitals and civilian infrastructure and exploits civilians and patients as human shields.
The military also uncovered weapons in the office of the hospital director. On the northern border, Israel continues to strike Hezbollah targets in South Lebanon. CBN senior international correspondent George Thomas reported from this Hezbollah stronghold.
Israel estimates that in 5 months of almost daily border skirmishes behind me, the IDF has managed to kill more than 150 Hezbollah operatives, including 5 high-ranking commanders. And all along the Israel-South Lebanon border, Israel has managed to destroy about 150 Hezbollah outposts.
Meanwhile, Secretary of State Antony Blinken heads to the Middle East today to continue to push for a ceasefire and hostage deal. And in the U.S. Congress, Reuters reports lawmakers agreed to suspend funding for UNRWA for another year, pending an investigation into allegations that employees of the UN agency took part in the October 7th attack. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Well, I wish they would go a step further and say UNRWA shouldn't exist anymore. It's the longest sort of independent refugee agency created by the UN. It's a special one. It's completely separate from their other refugee agencies, which always have a limited time for that relief. And when you look at how the relief was misused, that all of that money went into these tunnels, went into supplying Hamas and waging war against Israel, it just calls into question, why in the world are we doing it? If the people of Gaza don't want to create their own city, if they don't want to invest in their own infrastructure, if they don't want to invest in their own farms, water purification, electrical grid, all of these things that are necessary for modern cities, if they would rather have all that money go into terror tunnels, well, then we need to shut off the money going to them. I wish that we would have the political backbone to do it. At the same time, you have a huge population here, and they're all at risk in this horrible war. Let us continue to put pressure on Hamas. That's the key. If Hamas will release the hostages, if they will unconditionally surrender and turn over that area to the IDF, well, then you can have peace. But until that time, there will be no peace.